a wonderful idea in Vedanta, very prominently presented. And in fact, in many other religions, theologies also, you will see exactly this idea that this whole universe is emanation from this self. Self alone is manifesting as this whole universe. Self is pervaded in all of these appearances. There are, of course, other theories, like in Indian philosophy, there is a very prominent school. It is called Sankhya, which says, no, there are two different principles. One is the conscious principle and another is material principle. The conscious principle does not undergo any change. Moreover, the conscious principles, they are different. The conscious principle here is different from the conscious principle there. The self in everyone is different. That is the thought there. But the material is the same. I mean, they do it in a different way. They say that, well, they call these elements as Purusha and Prakriti. That Purusha, there are so many different Purushas, means the indwellers are different. Indweller in each material body, this thing is different, but the material is same, given different shapes, that's all. It is on the, with the little bit chemistry, we can understand this easily, that the same fundamental particles heaped in one way is this body. Those very particles heaped differently is the body here, is the body here. The same thing is the body of the chair also. The same particles, they also make the bodies of the earth and the stars, suns and so forth. So they say that this conscious entity, the Purusha, is different in each of these heaps, but the matter in all these heaps is same. It undergoes change of configuration, that's all. Configuration in the sense, the heap is arranged differently. Like when, say, I eat some food, then this heap is arranged differently. The food heap that is gone and it has come into this heap. That's all. Like in the snow drift, you see, the snow heaps, they keep on shifting because of the drifts. One heap that is small, but the wind started blowing in its direction, so the snow from the other heaps came there. So similarly, when you sit for taking meals, then the heap in the plate in front of you, and that starts becoming smaller and smaller, and you start becoming correspondingly bigger and bigger. So it is, but the material is kind of same. It is the size of the heap and so forth changes, but the same fundamental particles, electron, protons, or whatever names you may give, they are heaped. The material is same. Their arrangements undergo a little change here and there, but the self is different in each heap. So it does not, the self does not undergo any change, but they are different from each other. Vedanta counters this argument saying that if you can you find out the characteristics of the two different selves? How do you differentiate them? That here and there. Can you show that the characteristic of self A different from characteristic of self B. And if you cannot differentiate them, what makes you call them two? If they are two, then you have to have at least one character, one something that is here but not there, or there but not here. Otherwise, how do you differentiate them? How do you say that they are different? So, Vedanta comes to this conclusion that the self is the same. Not only that, it says what you call matter is just an extension, an emanation of the self, like the rays from the sun. So, you see this in many Upanishads told that everything has come from the self. Tasmad vai tasmad atmana akashas sambhutah. So thus from this self came this element called the space. We will now thus come to the discussion, a brief discussion of what is called by these 5 elements in Vedanta philosophy, which is, that part is shared by Sankhya philosophy as well, that there are these 5 elements which make for this visible universe. Visible, non-visible, whatever, but the universe is constituted of the 5 elements. And these 5 elements have been given certain names. One of them is, the most primordial one is called space. This space actually includes time also. This space word here is used, akasha, the space. It is actually what Einstein would have called the time-space continuum. So, this space. Now, in that, from that comes the next one, and that is called Vayu. Means they translated as air, but it should not be confused as air as such. Then there is the next one that is called fire. Again, it should not be confused with the fire that you light, as it is the principal fire. Then from that comes another one, the principle of taste. And then another one that is called principle of smell. And it is told in Sankhya as well as in Vedanta that these 5 elements are all that is in the universe. One may say, well, our studies of science tells us that there are 100 and so many elements which and their number keeps on increasing. You know, when my professor was teaching me chemistry, so he told at our times we used to have 92 elements. When I was student, the number was 103. Then later on I heard it is 110 or something. So it is, so we know these many elements. And how do you say these 5 elements cover the whole creation? Whole creation is made just of these 5 elements. You do not need even 6th. No, 5 are good enough for us. Because the 5 elements are derived not as such from the universe, but by how do we experience the universe? What is in our universe? Our experience of universe comes to us through different sense organs. And human beings have been endowed with 5 sense organs. When we say something is, what does it mean actually? Vedanta and Sankhya both are critics of experience. Means they analyze the experience and come to conclusion. So, what is the proof of the existence of the universe? Simple, I experience it. Okay, can we argue about it? That is the only proof that we have really. That what is the proof that the universe is? Nothing else. Well, I experience it. That is the maximum proof you can get about it, and that is considered enough. The universe is because I experience it. Now, I experience means what do I experience? This universe makes sound. I hear that sound. So, there is an element in the universe that affects my organ of hearing. That element is given the name Akasha, the space. That it makes the sound. Then, well, I touch, sometimes I don't hear anything, but I feel that this touch sense is there. I actually held that, so it is, although there was no sound, still that is because I got the touch of it. So there is something in the universe which affects my sense of touch. Also I see there is some other element in this universe which affects my sense of sight. I see it. Then there is something that affects my sense of taste, and some other element that affects my sense of smell. These 5 elements are there. You don't need to go to any laboratory to discover that there are these 5 elements. You do not have to conduct so many experiments to find out which elements are there, like that great Russian scientist Mendeleev. He did lot of studies, analyzed so many things, a wonderful history really, but and he found out so many different elements. These are, but how did we discover these 5 elements? Just by analyzing our experience. These 5 elements are found just by looking at our experience. And what else is there in this universe, can you tell? Is there anything else in this universe? Nothing else. So these 5 elements cover the whole universe, is it not? These 5 elements therefore are good enough to describe the human universe. If we had another 6th sense, figuratively we say that the person had 6th sense, or how did you act on, well, the 6th sense told me, but then that is more or less figurative, you intuited it like that, but actually the experience that we get of this universe is 5 senses. So therefore this universe, our universe, a human universe, some birds may have some different other sense organs. It is in that book, very famous novel, considered the best novel written by an American ever, Moby Dick. So the Moby Dick, it is described there, how is the vision of a whale, how is the eye of a whale, and in this huge body, how the vision of that Moby Dick would be. Just compare, you see how the Moby Dick's vision would be. So, very interesting, that comparison. So, Moby Dick's universe would be of a very different type, because the organ of vision is functioning in a very different way. Moreover, it has many other probably organs that we don't have. So therefore, that big fish, the whale's universe is different from our universe. It probably sees many different colors which are not in our universe. It might have some electric sense that we don't have. Our universe is basically made of our five sense organs, and so these five elements are just those. And it is told here that all these are actually inhabited by the self. The self governs them from inside. These elements do not know the self, they cannot know because they are the product. And since they are the product, they do not have the capacity to know who produced them. It is therefore the self remains unknown to these elements. And what comes out of these elements again therefore they also remain ignorant of the nature of this self. So it is told therefore that they don't know. It goes further, saying that he who inhabits heaven yet is within heaven, whom heaven does not know, whose body heaven is, and who controls heaven from within, he is yourself. That is what is controlling heaven. And so what is the point in going to heaven? I control it, you see. So it is all happens with my control. Can we imagine it? Yes, I control it. One beautiful evidence, very convincing in a way, that the Vedanta gives to show that this whole universe springs up from the self is that compare your experience in the dream. That you see so many things in the dream. Everybody sees a dream, and in that dream there is a you. Just as in this world you don't get an experience where you are not there. Even in the dream, you don't see a dream in which you are not there. You have to be in the dream. Now, that you in the dream and the whole big phenomena that you experience in the dream, its variety is immense really. What one can experience and what one can actually perceive in the dream is far more variegated than what we perceive in the waking state. Our capabilities, all that we can do is increased much more than what is in the waking state. All this experience that we have, and then when you wake up, do you find any trace of that universe there? You say, well, you were just lying on the bed as body. You didn't go anywhere. And yet you saw all that. Where was all this universe? Who made it? Who made it? I made it, is it not? I made it. There was nobody else coming there to make it for you. You had not contracted it out to somebody that, well, please build this city for me. No, nobody made it for you. You brought it out from yourself. So also this universe, nobody made it. What was the material in all those things that you were seeing in the dream? What was the material? You were the material also. You didn't order it from Home Depot, or even if the Home Depot, it must be the dream Home Depot that you made. So it is, you get that you are that material. Everything is there, that is I. So now also, this is like a dream, friends, comes and goes. How do you know that? You may say, oh, that's the dream, you see, forget about it. It is not real. Well, when you are seeing the dream, this is not real. Hmm? So this becomes unreal in the dream. And it is, you may have had a big dinner, 6-course dinner, and then slept. Still in the dream you may feel hungry, you say. So this your dinner in the waking state becomes unreal in the dream state. So it is both these states, there they one negates another. So this is also like the dream, and there is no other material there, no other person there. Just as you met 10 friends in the dream. Who made those 10 friends? You made them, but not the one in you, that you in the dream didn't make it. And the you who had the dream made it. And do you see this, the difference? That you that was in the dream didn't make the friends with whom you were meeting. It will sound ridiculous. That is, I didn't make them, just as now you don't say that I have made all these people around. That is not true. But the real you, that true self, has made all these things. It is, therefore, we see that this all has come out from this self. Can we feel this a little bit? It is important to think about it deeply, that this universe is like a dream. There is no distinction at all. It is, and this is to understand that therefore this also is the same one self appearing in so many different forms. There is no change there. So this is told here that is your true self appearing in so many forms and controls all that. Who controls the happenings in the dream? Who controls? Difficult to tell who controls. That it is certainly you, the you in the dream doesn't control it, otherwise why will you have unpleasant dreams? In the dream also it is not always that it is a happy ending. It is sometimes you get up with a very, you have another nightmare, you scream in the dream, as if something bad was happening there. And so in the dream also you don't have much of a control over what should happen. But there is the true self that is controlling all this. It is a very important idea that it is the I that is dealing with people in the dream doesn't control it. Even the one who is sleeping on the bed sees that, well, I was manifesting all that, and feels amused when wakes up. It is when you wake up, then all the dream experiences you see as quite amusing. In the dream you may be tormented by the big debts, and then see that, well, unless it is I am going to be murdered if I don't pay it, and then somebody came actually and was firing a shot at you, and you wake up and then feel relieved that, well, there is nobody there. So it is the one who is seeing the dream has no control. The one who is the dreaming has also no control. But the self that is appearing in all these different states is controlling it. One beautiful idea that Shankaracharya mentions in his hymn Dakshinamurti Stotram is very nice to remember here, that he says, look, the continuity remains. When you wake up, you know that I in the dream, the same I in the deep sleep, I in the dream, and I in the waking state. The experiences were different, but you know that I had that dream, I was asleep, and now I am awake. Same I continues through all these different states. Although the experience of the dream contradicts the experience of the waking state, yet the continuity of I is there. That same I, oh well, I was seeing it in the dream. Somebody else was seeing it in the dream. No, it was my dream. I was thinking like that in my dream. It is my dream is not shared by somebody else. That is another thing to remember. Somebody was telling me, Swami, you must come to my home. Why? No, I saw in the dream that you have come to my home. So come to my home. I said, but I didn't see in my dream. When I see in my dream too, then it makes sense. Otherwise, when I will see in my dream that I am coming to your home, and you also see in your dream, then we can work on it. Till then, let us keep it in abeyance. So, it is my dream and somebody else's dream doesn't match. It is just as my experience in the waking state and somebody else's experience in the waking state, they do not match in a state when we go out of this kind of dream. They do not match either. It is our waking state experiences, they do not match in the state of dream. It is different there. So, this is a beautiful analysis. In many Upanishads you will find this idea has been explored about how this in the dream we have the same universe really, same experience, same universe, much deeper, that's all. And yet, when we wake up, we know that there was nobody else. The I was appearing as all this. And so, same thing now too. I alone am appearing as all this. So, this is, you can see that when we analyze, when we discover the self, now you will see why I was telling it becomes bigger instead of becoming smaller. It is, everything is I. That comes, that kind of conclusion we come to, that there is nothing apart from the self. In everything you see the self manifested differently. But then what is its true nature? How to experience it? It is told that, look, first of all, you will not be, this concludes, he who inhibits all things, yet is within all things, whom no being knows, whose body all beings are, and who controls all beings from within. He is yourself, the inner controller, the immortal. It continues like this. with all the different gross sense organs and so forth. And then it is told then he is never seen but is the seer. Mm. He is never seen, never becomes an object. It is self, so how can you objectify that? It is so knowing the self needs a very different process. Knowing an object, like yes, I want to study this particular science, so there is that science and you studying that science. This means you are the knower, that thing is the known. But with self, it is said, he is never seen, but is the seer. He is never heard, but he is the hearer. He is never thought of, but is the thinker. He is never known, but is the knower. There is no other seer than he. There is no other hearer than he. There is no other thinker than he. There is no other knower than he. He is yourself, the inner controller, the immortal. Everything else but him is perishable. And here, the one who had asked this question to great sage Yajnavalkya, he understands and steps back. There is a story associated with it, but I don't want to go into it. A very nice story. You can read this portion of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad for that. But this questioner had asked about this self, and now getting the answer, he retires. So, this self, another question comes there, is asked by a lady. It is a court actually of Janaka, King Janaka. Now let me tell you this story also. Because that story has some relevance here, that the King Janaka announced, he was a big king, and so announced in his court, there were lots of scholars of different scriptures, and sages and thinkers used to come to his court. And he announced that, well, any of you who can say that I am the knower of the self, or I am knower of the Brahman, can take all these cows. The cows were waiting there. Cows were considered the big wealth then. So all these cows will be given to the knower of the Brahman. Who of you is the knower of Brahman? Come and take these cows. And nobody was coming forth. Yajnavalkya said to his many students were there, hey, come on, take those cows. Take them. Let's go with those cows. And then that is human nature. If I don't get that, I don't mind as much. But if somebody else gets, then why should he or she? Who stopped you? Why did you not take it? No. But why should that person get it? It is that is becomes a big headache, big problem for us. That if I don't get, I don't mind that. But why that should get it? You see. So it is. So now their blood started boiling when Yajnavalkya said, hey, are you knower of the Brahman? Yajnavalkya, did I say that? I didn't say that. Just we needed cows, nobody was taking, so I said, come on. But if you have questions, you can ask me questions, and I will try to satisfy you according to my capacity. So one after another person started asking questions. So there is this one of them we discussed. Then now the next one is coming, that it is uh, this what pervades everything. That is the question. But that was asked by Gargi. And then what is it that pervades everything? And that is a very deep idea. See, the fact that we are able to communicate with each other, the fact that we are seeing something means again a communication. That means there must be some connection, something that is connecting it. Sometimes, I try to find out on internet some information, want to see something, and then a message comes. There is no connection. So if there is no connection, you don't get information, you don't get connected to it. So the fact that we are seeing each other, the fact that we are able to see the universe, that means there must be some internal connection that is connecting all this. See the depth of the question, so that then we will be able to also appreciate the depth of the answer. And that what is that one? And this has been, that which connects everything. Because without that, communication is not possible. We feel it all the time. That is, that we can communicate only when there is a common bond. That is also the source of love. What is the meaning of love? That there is something inside that is communicating and making the oneness felt. Without that, there is no love. There is a beautiful question that comes in a nice Sanskrit poetry, that it is again the same, it is from Bhavabhuti, that it is in the same book that I had referred to earlier, that it is that Vyati shajati padarthan kopi antastha hetu, that what is it that makes two things kind of get connected together, joined together. They seem to vibrate in the same frequency. They seem to, experience the pleasures and pains of each other. What is it that makes that happen? And the questioner knows that it is hidden something, not apparent, because he immediately says that the lumps of matter do not cannot get just bound together with these inner feelings. You don't see. So if the body A and body B, if they are just seen as lumps of matter, why is there that kind of connection that if one gets hurt, other feels the pain? If one becomes happy, the other also feels the sense of happiness. Why does it happen like that? There must be some antaras kopi hetu, there must be some inner connection there. What is that inner connection? It is a very interesting question. And that question is asked here also, Sutratma, something that connects from inside. What is that inner connection? So this is the question. Like you make garlands. Now different flowers, and if it is done skillfully, then you don't see anything but flowers. you do not even see the thread. But you know that these different kind of flowers, they can't be stuck together like that. There must be something inside, an inner thread that is running through all these flowers. So there has to be an inner thread that runs in and through everything, big or small, in this universe. See the question, how intelligent this lady who is asking this question must be. What is that thread that connects everything in this universe? In modern physics, they speak of string theory, the theory of everything and so forth, but it is after all a theory of physical science. It cannot go much deeper than what is seen in the objects. So, but if you go deeper, you must find it. So this is her question to this sage Yajnavalkya, that what is that is inside? He said that, O Gargi, which is above heaven and below the earth. Now, before telling the all-pervading nature, the self is described in somewhat contradictory two ways. One is called transcendence, other is called immanence. That one transcendence means showing that it is not this, not this, not this, and so forth. The beautiful hymn of Shankaracharya that we chanted in the beginning, it has, you can see the two ways of telling there, that mano buddhya hankara chitta ninaham. I am not the mind, I am not the intellect. I here means the self. Self is not the intellect, self is not the mind. I am not all these sense organs like hearing or tasting. Nacha shrotra jivhe, nacha ghrana netre, nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu. None of these five elements that I am. This is transcendence, negating. I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. Then what am I? Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am the consciousness itself. I am the bliss itself. I am that. So, one is affirmation, another is negation. When you want to find something, then there is a big heap. Suppose you want to find out a particular letter, and then it is probably in a big heap of papers scattered here and there. So you look at this, no, not this, no, not this, not this, discard them. That is not what I am looking for. And you have the idea that what you are looking for, and compare with that idea that what you see. That is why you are able to discard also. If you are not at all knowing what you are looking for, then you will not be able to even discard that this is not that. So you have some idea of what you are looking for, and then you discard. This is not what I am looking for. And then when you find ultimately, this is it. So that is the immanence, that yes, this whole thing is really pervaded by God, but not as I perceive it. What is being discarded is the wrong perception. That is called actually a renunciation or giving up. Giving up or renunciation is therefore a necessary step in experiencing the truths of Vedanta. Renunciation should not be confused with those, you have to become an ascetic, you have to become a monk put on the funny clothes and all that. And that is not really the meaning of giving up or renunciation. Renunciation means examine. And if it does not match with what you are really looking for, discard it. That is what we do. So this is called renunciation. So this process of renunciation is therefore cardinal in discovering the right thing. If not, then we will not be able to find the right thing. So therefore, it is described in these two ways. So Yajnavalkya says here that, well, he said, O Gargi, which is above heaven, means don't look it in the heaven, because it is above. It is not, why he spoke of heaven first? Because people have the idea of heaven where our pleasures will get intensified. Here we all see our pleasures, they come with kind of pain too. It is, I like to go and eat some nice things, they lunch there, but then I have to pay the big bill also. So here every pleasure is like that. It comes with a bill. So it is, but then we imagine there will be then heaven. And there only pleasures will be there, no pain. I should go there. And how can one go to heaven? Many therefore start planning after life. And that because the death is, it is certain, I am going to die one day. Everybody kind of knows it. Knowing also we don't know it, that's a different thing. But still we then start planning. Like, suppose you are traveling to Florida. Nice from here to go to Florida now, good weather there comparatively. So you buy a ticket for Florida and then board the flight. Now you have boarded the flight and now you are not thinking about the aircraft and all that. You are already thinking what you are going to do once you land in Florida. Already planning, okay, because now the destination is decided that, well, since I have boarded the flight, barring an accident, I am going to, in a couple of hours, I will be there in Florida. So you already start planning. So like that, people start planning after death, because the death is, the process has begun long back, you see. So when we took the birth, the process of death began. So when we realize this, that it is, we are surely marching towards death. That is actually called life. Our language is funny, Life and death are considered opposite of each other. But what we call life is just marching towards death. So we are surely going towards death. So knowing this, people think, okay, then after that, what is there for us in store? Let us plan that. Because this is now, the journey is going to end there. Like landing in Florida, I am landing there, it is, as far as body goes, it is going to go away. Then what next? So heaven, maybe I will, like booking a good hotel in Florida, we book a good heaven, by doing some, and it is told by some others, okay, if you give this in charity, then you will get our this thing, our temple or our church or whatever, we will arrange you for a good place in the heaven. Just your ticket in the heaven, we will book it, just pay this much donation to us and all that, and then that will get assured. So, but the truth, if you are looking for truth, Yajnavalkya says, not in the heaven. Heaven is just another extension of the pleasures here. Like that story goes, that a husband and wife in their senior age, they were, health concerns, and also were eating exactly all the health food, a very controlled life and so forth, because wanted to stay healthy and live long life and so forth. So eat those flax seeds and such things, and not very tasty. The idea, actually, there is a very nice saying about the health food. Somebody said that there is nothing more sickening than health food. So it is. So you eat all that health food, and then but one day they both kicked the bucket and then went there. And then they were told, there are so many places in heaven, you can stay, you can have this nice. And this man said, but we don't have that much money, this house, with this beautiful lawn and all these spacious nice bedrooms and all this look very good, but I don't have that much. We are, give us some, show us a humble place, we can't pay that much. No, 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 it is heaven, no payment is required, you see. And then they were shown all the food items you can take. No, no, give us low carb and all that. No, no, you can eat anything, there is no problem, no health problem in heaven. And then the husband, he clenched his teeth and fist and said to wife, it is but for your insistence on that health food that we came here. Otherwise we would have come in this beautiful place 20 years earlier, you see. So it is. So heaven, we have such ideas about getting the nice place in heaven. So Yajnavalkya says, no, not in heaven. Here in earth? No, not in earth either. Go beyond. You have to transcend them both. And as well as what is, so is it in between the space between earth and heaven? No, it is not between them either. And which they say was, is, and will be, is pervaded by the unmanifested Akasha. So, this is all pervaded by what is called the space and time, but the self is even beyond that. Then she says, I bow to you, O Yajnavalkya, you have fully answered this question of mine. Now, brace yourself for the other. She said, what pervades that which is above heaven and below the earth, which is heaven and earth, as well as that which is between heaven and earth, they say was, is, and will be. And Yajnavalkya answers that, O Gargi, which is above heaven and below earth, which is heaven and earth, as well as which is between them, and which is, they say, was, is, and will be, is pervaded by the unmanifested space and time. So she asks the question, takes the question one step further. Then she says, but what pervades what you call this space principle? What is that space principle manifestation of? And he answered that, O Gargi, the knowers of Brahman call the imperishable. It is neither gross nor subtle, neither short nor long, neither red nor moist. It is neither shadow nor darkness, neither air nor akasha. It is unattached. It is without taste or smell, without eyes or ears, without tongue or mind. It is effulgent, without vital breath or mouth, without measure, and without exterior or interior. It does not eat anything, nor is eaten by anyone. And this is again that Yajnavalkya is describing, that this is what we saw, the process of transcendence. That it is not any of this subject object. And then, verily, under the mighty rule of this imperishable, it says that, but that controls everything under the mighty rule of this imperishable. O Gargi, the sun and moon are held in their respective positions. See, they have been moving in their orbits for now, who knows how many hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years. The astronomers can tell this age of earth and sun and all that. So they are moving in their respective orbits. Who is making them move, following and made to follow this strict discipline? See, somebody has to, make you follow the discipline. Otherwise, the things go about, become indisciplined. And that when do you see that all the cars are driving within speed limit on the highway? Nobody is trying to, play too smart there. What do you deduce? That there is some cop car there, you say. So it is because there is that governor, somebody is watching there. So under the watchful eye of this principle, that self, these suns and moons and stars, they are keeping their orbits, keeping to their orbits. Everything is following its rules just because there is this supreme governor. He is beyond everything, and yet he is pervaded in everything as their internal governor. So we will continue the discussion more on the practical side. We have seen that yes, we got some little glimpse, but this little glimpse is only the theory. We have to have the experience of it. Unless there is the practical component, and which is very big, friends, which is really, really very big. It is like playing piano. Reading a book how to play piano, well, simple. But to get the mastery over that, you have to work hard for many, many, many years. So similarly, intellectually understanding these things is important, but it can take you only to some little distance. All the remaining thing is practicing. Even this intellectual understanding is also kind of a practice of reinforcing it again and again and again. So that is the idea.